Good morning, everyone. It's Sheila, and welcome to another episode of PJs and Coffee Time. I am sitting here sipping on my coffee this morning. I decided to keep my coffee pretty simple. I just have cream and a little bit of cinnamon in there, and of course my stevia, but that's pretty much it. And I am still drinking my Hickory Louisiana coffee, and this time I'm drinking it out of my Florida mug. So everything's pretty basic this morning. I did just get out of the shower, so I feel refreshed. I'm ready to chat with you all. But since it is Sunday morning versus when I normally try to pre-record these, I am going to try to keep this kind of short, simple, and sweet this morning. I'm just going to kind of make this a fun video because it's actually going to make you laugh. At least I hope it makes you laugh. But before I go into all that, I do want to share with you all these flowers that are sitting right here next to me. They are from my I won't say flower garden, or shall I say flower garden? They're from my front yard, put it that way. I don't really have a flower garden, but they are from my front yard. And then my hands are nice and oiled this morning from this Josie Moran whipped organ oil and vanilla bean. This was a gift from one of my dear subscribers, Diane. When I went home to I said when I went home to North Carolina. When I went home to Virginia a couple years ago, she met me, and you guys got to see the video. And this was in a box of different ones that she gave me, and I hadn't opened up this one yet. And so this morning I was like, I need a new smell. So I pulled it out, and it smells so good. I love vanilla bean. So that's what I have on my hands this morning. So I just wanted to kind of, I try to share something with you all every day, and I actually have loved these very much. It's a nice gift box. I showed you guys that in my video. They do make your hands feel nice and soft, as well as give you off a fresh, beautiful scent. So that's all I have on this morning. Of course, the routine for these videos. We just pretty much come as we are. There's no makeup requirements. We don't have to be beauty queens. We're just beautiful women. And men, if I have some men watching as well, but we believe that we are beautiful from within, and it works its way out to the outside. So anyway, I am sipping on my coffee. If you have any questions about what all these videos pertain and all that good stuff, there was always going to be description below in the description area. But if you want to pause right now, run grab yourself that beverage, because that's the most important part of this video, is to have yourself a beverage, because sometimes I do get long-winded. Even though today I'm going to try not to be long-winded. That usually doesn't work for me, but you never know. Maybe who knows? Maybe I'll be successful today. But at any rate, I do want to kind of, explain where I am this morning. Some of you might wonder. This is actually my guest bedroom. I made it over a few years ago when I moved back into my house. This was the bed that I had in my apartment, and this is the bed I slept on for a very long time. But I got rid of the bed that was in here because I didn't want to get rid of this bed, because I love this bed so much. And so I kind of redid the guest room, which now I feel like it's a little bit outdated. I don't know. I just want to do some extra things to it. So I walked in here this morning to just kind of gaze my eyes upon what I could see in here and think of what I wanted to do. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to film in this room today. I've never filmed in here. I never really come in here except for when I have guests. Like when Ravonda was here, I came in here and we sat in here and chat for a few minutes. But I don't really come in this room. So anyway, that is where we are right now. So, but I guess you're not here to discuss what room I'm in and all that good stuff. You probably want to know, what the heck do you have to share with us today, girl? Because you guys know I always have doozies, and today is no exception. I have another doozy. So like I said, I do want to kind of keep it lightweight. This one's going to be a little bit funny maybe, or just kind of like one of those things that I'm sharing about myself that you guys might go, wow, you're full of surprises. Who knows? I don't know what you're going to think. But anyway, let me just go ahead and get right into it. So first, for starters, let me say that a while back, like when I went through my divorce with my son's father, mind you, now I came from a very small town. I grew up a very naive person, and I really didn't do the club scene or anything like that. And when I got divorced, I was working a part-time job at Bell's Department Store, where I met a very good friend of mine. I don't want to use names today, so we're just going to say I met a very good friend. Initially, we weren't friends, so initially we kind of butt heads. I don't really know why, but we just kind of butt heads. And then one day she approached me with this like she had a really cute way of saying the things that she said. Like, she really was the one that had the problem with me. I didn't have a problem with her, but she would just sometimes give me what I would call the girl stare down, and I'd be like, what have I done to her? But one night she walked over to me and she said to me, hey, do you go out? And I go, no, I've not gone out. And she goes, you want to? Just like that, and I was like, I just lost an earring. Okay, sorry about that. I lost an earring. So just like that, you know, we were just like, okay, we're gonna go out. So we went out to this place, and at the time it was a very popping club here in the SA area called the Avalon. And so we went there several times. Like, we would literally get off work sometimes on Friday nights. Friday nights was ladies' night, and if you got there before 10, you got in for free. Being that neither one of us had a lot of money, that was very important. So we would literally leave work and like run to our homes. We lived actually not very far from each other, change real fast, and then we would alternate on the times of each of us would drive, and so whoever had the drive would pick up the other one, and off we would go. So this went on for quite a while, and then there was a time that now, she knew more about the club scene, more about being single. She'd never been married. I'd never been single, pretty much. You know, like, I left my parents' home and went into being married. So, like, she was my go-for whenever I had the questions about, like, what I'm supposed to dress, how I'm supposed to look. And believe me, she always filled me in. She let me know all the time, girl, don't look like you're going to work, okay? You look too much like you're going to work. She'd say these crazy things to me. And so this particular night, she was like, mentioned to me that, needless to say, the owner of this club, well, I say that, the owner of this club was a ex-pro basketball player. And so I didn't really know that, but she did. And so one night she was telling me, you know, like, hey, you know, he owns this club, and like, I really would like an opportunity to meet him. And, you know, she had like this whole fantasy built up inside, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like exciting to me. So this particular night we go in, and for whatever reason, the club manager had, I guess, addressed her at some point. I don't know, but she knew him from, I guess, a part of her past, or I don't know exactly how she knew him. They never dated or anything, but she knew him. And I saw them over there chatting and talking. And then, you know, later on she came over to me and she was like, hey, this might be our big night. We might get to meet the guy. And I was like, okay. And for me, I've never been a starstruck type of a person. So I was just like, okay, whatever. So anyway, the club night ended, and we were headed to our cars. And the manager approached us by saying, hey, this person wants us to come back inside. So we walked back inside, and we had like a little bit of a conversation, you know, the whole introduction thing, and, you know, hey, how are you, blah, blah, blah. You know, what brings you girls to the club? Why, you know, what do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that type of conversation. So needless to say, we were invited to a pool party that was going to happen at his place the next day. So it's like, okay. So we got up on Saturday morning. We both were like, you know, like, what do we wear? And I'm thinking, I don't have anything appropriate to wear to a pool party. Like, I don't even know what you wear to a pool party. So she and I went out looking for like the cutest bathing suits we could find on our budget. It took us a long time. I don't know if we were successful or not, but we ended up picking out 2 bathing suits. We were all prepared for the party. We went to the party. We had a great time. The only thing is that it ended up being a little bit different than what we had planned. The club manager was kind of, I guess, into her, and I guess the guy was into me. But the truth of the matter is, nothing ever developed from it. It was never like a love. It was never like a love connection on either of our parts. It was more or less like a friendship that became a very good friendship. However, according to everybody in the world, it seemed like I was this guy's woman. And so he and I did become friends. He and I did go out sociably a few times. You know, it got to the point that when I would come to the club, I became a VIP person. When I would go, the bouncers were told, you know, hey, take care of her. She's, you know, she's a good girl. She's one of the good people. We need to look out for her. She's not really equipped to be hanging out in the bars, because I was very naive in a lot of ways. So he was always there as my protector, or not necessarily him physically, but he would always have someone there as my protector. And so this went on the entire time during the time that I was going to the club, and I never realized that people were making all the comments that they were making. I didn't realize that I was this topic of conversation, you know, behind my back. Like, I didn't know that everyone paid attention to this. And the truth of the matter is that he and I had a conversation at some point about, you know, like the possibilities or who I was or what I meant to him. And basically we both came to the conclusion I didn't want that kind of lifestyle. I was a single mom, and I just really, like I said, I'm not starstruck, so I wasn't gonna like him just because of who he was. But you know, so it was just like, you know, hey, you're a great guy, I enjoy your company. To him, I was a great girl, down to earth. And the fact that he said, you know, he would literally tell me, and this was one of his famous words to say to me, is, girl, I'm a dog. I would never want to hurt someone like you. Like, you're too sweet, you're too innocent. Like, I want you to be the woman that I would take home to my mother, but not the woman that I would, you know, hang out with in that manner. So that was like it. That's how we made our relationship. It worked. We would talk sometimes. And then, you know, honestly, most of the time when I would go to the club, he and I actually never had a conversation, like most of the time. I mean, there were times he'd walk past to see, you know, like he'd come out of the back and he'd be like, hey, just checking on you, okay, or whatever. Or I might walk to the area where he was. Sometimes I don't even know if he was there, to be honest with you. It wasn't like I went there to, oh, let me, you know, it was never in that fashion. So anyway, like I said, I never knew this was a thing. I never knew that people were talking about me behind my back. I didn't realize that everyone thought I was his woman. So the other night, when my girlfriend was in town, we were actually headed over to a place where you guys saw us filming. We went out for a little, you know, evening cocktail to have a little bit of fun. And we actually passed by the place that used to be. So we go in there. So we drive past this place. And on our way to the place that we were going to, and as we were driving by, I mentioned to my girlfriend, I said, hey, that was my hangout spot back in the day. And I kind of gave her a little bit of a rundown about, like, oh, you know, and I was like, you know, and I was actually being funny. I was saying, you know, I was quite the celebrity back in those days. Now, by this time, I had found out, like, I actually, after we didn't hang out anymore, I think the club closed down, and I don't know, but I found out from several guys that, like, whenever, like, I went out on a date with a guy, and the first thing he said to me was he wanted to know, like, how close this guy and I were. And I was like, how do you even know about that? Like, you know, and because I didn't see them two being in the same circle. And, you know, so it was just kind of a weird thing. And even like anybody, like, it would just be weird because this random men, if I talked to them, they would bring it up. And that's when I realized that apparently this is what everyone thought. And so I was being funny with my friend, and I said, hey, you know, I said, I used to be quite the thing back then. You know, I had it going on. I was a celebrity and blah, blah, blah. But I was really just kind of being funny because I make light of the situation, because it's amazing how people can take something and totally run away with it, because it was never that kind of a party. So anyway, we get to the little place that we were at the other night, and I see this guy, and I'm thinking in my head, he looks familiar, but I'm like, I meet people all the time. I don't know where he would be familiar from. I kind of blow it off in my head. And as the night progresses, conversation arises, and he actually ends up having a conversation together. And guys, you aren't gonna believe this. The first words out of his mouth were, I know you from back in the day. And I was like, you do? And I'm like thinking, like, where do I know you from? He proceeded to say, you used to go to the club and you were his woman. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, first of all, let's get something straight. I was not his woman. Never wanted to be, never was, and never will be. Like, I don't know why people think that. So then I'm like, I'm curious. And then I'm like, God, like how many people thought that? Like, because this was a random person that I thought I recognized, but I didn't know where I recognized him from. But now I realized that I recognized him from back in those days. Now, mind you guys, this has been, oh my God, what, 20 plus years ago? And so I was like, you still remember something? Like, I mean, I'm just dumbfounded. I'm like, you would remember something like that? Like, you remember my face? I mean, like, gosh, like, I don't know if I should be flattered or if I should be like freaked out or what. So like, I'm just like, what, you know? And so we go on it, because then I'm like, at this point, I'm like curious, because I'm like, exactly how much do you think you know about me? And he proceeded to tell me, you know, he was like, yeah, I used to go to the club. You were protected. You were the, you know, like you had your own little area. You were like VIP. You had your own little parking area. You had your, you know, the bouncers would like, you know, bring you in. You could sit at your little table and, you know, nobody was allowed to mess with you. If anybody got, you know, like got too funky or whatever, like the bouncers would be like, hey, you know, like watch it, dude, or whatever. And I was like, God, you were really watching me, because those were some of the things that happened, because that was his intent was to just always make me feel safe and never make me feel like I was, you know, in any kind of danger, because that was really actually a really rough time in my life. It was when I was going through my divorce, or like recently divorced, and I was dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. And so I guess I was very vulnerable, and maybe well, I won't say maybe, because I know that was one of the things that he noticed about me. And so he just always wanted me to feel protected. So I guess in a sense, like, I mean, well, I know in a sense that everything he was saying was actually true, but not to the magnitude of the way he was making it sound. Like I wasn't like this special person. I was just a friend. And so then I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, I remember you now. You were like this tall guy with the cowboy hat on, and you were like, you know, like always like on the other side of the room, like kind of like in this corner. And I was like, why didn't you ever like say hi? Or like, I can remember him vaguely smiling at me. I want to say maybe, I don't know that, honestly don't think we ever had a conversation, but I remember this person from a distance looking at me, sometimes smiling at me. And he was always dressed, you know, like in a suit. He was like 6, probably 4 or 5. I don't know. He was a really tall guy. He wore a cowboy hat with his suit. And I remember that, but like beyond that, I didn't know. And so I was like, I don't get it. Like, why did you ever not come over and say hi, or, you know? And so he was like, well, you know, like I said, you know, you were off the, you know, you were off limits to everybody at the club. We were just the men standing back looking at you, thinking like, oh, you know, we would love to have a date with you, or we'd love to get to know you, but you know, we couldn't, you were untouchable. And I was like, I was never untouchable. Like, he never stopped me from talking to men. In fact, I met a couple of really nice men during the time that I was going to that club, and he never interfered with that, like I said, because it really was never that kind of a party. So it's like, I really don't get it. Like, I don't know why, like, you know, not that I per se wanted this person, but like I was just like dumbfounded that you would watch me all this time. I mean, this guy knew a lot about me. Like, he knew the type of clothes that I wore, and you know, he prefaced the end of our conversation, or not like the end of our, well, he prefaced our conversation by saying like, but you were always a lady. You were never like, you know, because then of course the question was like, okay, so what was she really like at the club back in those days? And he was like, no, she was actually a lady. Like, I never saw her be disrespectful. She was always, I mean, she respected herself, her body. She dressed nice. She was the classy lady in the corner. So that made me feel good, because I was like, at least he didn't think I was some kind of, you know the word I'm thinking about. Because I was like, gosh, you know, like, you know so much, you think you know so much about me. So anyway, we had such a great conversation that night. And, you know, it was just weird to me that, like, I was like, you know, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure this out, because I'm like, I can't understand why so many people would think things like that. But no one really approached me about it. Like, and I was like, and I asked him, I said, so were other guys in the club, like, wanting to say hi to me and never would because of the fear of repercussion from the guy? And he was like, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, really? And I was like, well, you know, kudos to the brave souls that, you know, I guess, you know, that didn't know. But then the funny part about it is the ones that I remember, like the guys that I actually met and had conversations with or whatever, they were never from here. And so I was like, maybe they just didn't know, and they were like the brave ones and just walked on over. But again, nothing was ever done or said to them. Like, they were never told that, like, the bouncers never interfered. The only time the bouncers would interfere would be when someone would come, like, and being, you know, trying to be disrespectful or being forceful, or, you know, ask me to dance and I say no and they just keep on. Then the bouncers would be like, you need to step, because they were like, no, she doesn't want to dance, like, leave her alone. But other than that, I mean, I could go out on a dance floor and dance my bum off with a guy, and, you know, and totally not have a problem. So I don't know, it's just really weird. But having that conversation with him, and the thought that he would remember after so long, like I said, this was 20 plus years, and this guy remembered so much about me. And you know, he paid me a really nice compliment. He said, you're still as beautiful now as you were back then. You know, age has not done anything to you, you know. And it made me feel good, but it just really made me think about, like, what you do in your past and how like many years later, the effect or the memory that goes along with that. Because like, you know, to have someone to remember so much about me, and thankfully enough, I mean, I say that lightly. I don't say that lightly because, you know, I was never, I mean, I always respected myself. I always respected my body. I was never one of those people that, you know, I may have gone out because that was my only way of like having adult conversation in that world that I was now forced to be a part of. But I never wanted to have that reputation of being that woman that was in the club picking up men or, you know, going after men and things of that nature. And I think that even that inadvertently I worried about that because of what everyone was saying, because I'm not being stereotypical, but I guess in a way it may sound like that I am. But you know, when people say things like that, and of course a lot of times behind dating someone that's quote unquote, you know, like in the limelight, people tend to have a lot of weird thoughts about that, and some of them are not necessarily good thoughts. And so I did wonder, after I realized that so many people were commenting on that quote unquote relationship that was never a relationship, that what people really thought about me, that people think that I was, you know, out there doing whatever. And so it made me feel good to hear him say like, no, you were the, you know, a wonderful lady, and you were very respectful. So, you know, I guess in a sense, if I had to say anything to young people watching this, or even people of my own age, but you know, make sure that you're always carrying yourself like a lady, or a gentleman if you're a gentleman watching this, because it is very important, because you never know who's watching you. You never know, you know, who is sitting over there in that corner and they're observing you, and how long they will remember that person that they saw. Because now, luckily for me, fortunate for me, he remembered something very good about me. But had I been that person that was being disrespectful, disrespecting myself, disrespecting my body, that would have been also a memory that he would have had. And I was there with my girlfriend, and you know, so like, you know, for someone to be able to sit there and say, like, to my girlfriend, you know, she was a lady, she was very respectful, that meant a lot to me, and that meant a lot for my girlfriend to hear something like that. So like I said, you know, just always be careful. Know what you're getting yourself into when you go out. Be, you know, like, especially if you're, you know, in a club atmosphere where there's alcohol involved. You know, alcohol, I know, can, you know, cause people to do some pretty and not so fun things sometimes. So always have your guard up. Always know, you know, have that respect for yourself, because like I said, you know, I just feel that that's very important. And when I left that night, I felt really good about myself, and I want that for everyone. I want for people when they leave, like when they are approached by something from their past, you know. So as I was leaving that night, I felt really good about myself. It really made me think, and that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this video, because it did mean a lot to me to hear someone have something positive to say about me. And it meant a lot for me to have my girlfriend hear something positive about me, because, you know, I've been gone from home for a long time, and this was someone that has grown up with me, and I know has looked up to me in various ways. And so it felt good that even though this guy was speaking of my past, he was speaking of good things from my past. So that's why it is very important that we always carry ourselves like ladies, and men, always carry yourself like gentlemen. There is no need to ever disrespect yourself or anyone ever. And if I could get across one message to any of my subscribers, any of my just one-time watchers, which you need to subscribe if you are, but please always remember, respect yourself, respect others, don't allow yourself to be respected, and most importantly, don't ever disrespect yourself, male or female. Thank you guys so much for watching this PJs and Coffee Time video. I know it was a little bit different for me. I just wanted something lightweight, and I guess I don't know if it's considered lightweight or not, because I feel like it got a little bit intense as I started to tell the story. But if you made it this far in this video, it's pretty obvious that you're curious about something. Kill the curiosity and go ahead and hit that subscribe and the notification bell so that you will be a part of this, and you'll be notified each and every time I do a video. Again, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my very next video. Bye.